Welcome back, dear viewers and collectors, to the channel where hidden treasures are uncovered from everyday pocket change and history whispers its secrets through metal and mint marks. Today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing and controversial stories in modern numismatics, a story that proves that even the smallest copper coin can carry a jaw-dropping destiny. Because we are talking about the legendary 1989 1-cent coin, a penny that most people would ignore, spend, or drop into a jar without a second thought, yet under extremely rare circumstances and extraordinary combinations of minting errors, production mistakes, metal anomalies, die varieties, and survival conditions, this humble coin has been rumored, speculated, and passionately debated to hold a potential value reaching as high as $13 million, and whether you are a seasoned collector, a casual coin hunter, or someone who just loves stories of hidden wealth, this journey into the world of the 1989 penny will change the way you look at every cent forever, because to understand how a 1-cent coin could ever be associated with such an astronomical value, we must explore the era it was born in, the technology used by the mint at the time, the known and unknown errors that occurred during production, and the rare chain of possibilities that can transform an ordinary circulation strike into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic phenomenon. The year 1989 sits at a fascinating crossroads in United States mint history, a time when traditional bronze cents had already been replaced by copper-plated zinc compositions, yet the minting process still carried risks of contamination, transitional mistakes, experimental testing, and human oversight, and these factors laid the groundwork for some of the most intriguing error coins ever imagined, starting with the composition itself. Because by 1989 the standard 1 cent was supposed to be made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, but history has taught collectors that leftover planchets, wrong metal stock, and experimental blanks have a habit of slipping into production lines, and the possibility of a 1989 penny being struck on an off-metal planchet such as a bronze blank intended for earlier years, or even a foreign or experimental alloy, immediately elevates its potential value into extraordinary territory, especially if metallurgical testing confirms a composition that should not exist for that year, and when such an off-metal strike is paired with pristine condition and impeccable provenance, collectors and investors can enter bidding wars that push values into the millions. But composition is only the beginning, because the minting process itself involves multiple stages where errors can occur, including blanking, annealing, upsetting, striking, and inspection. And a catastrophic combination of errors across these stages can result in coins that defy expectations, such as a 1989 penny struck with a dramatic double die obverse or reverse, where the design elements appear duplicated due to misalignment of the die during hubbing, and while minor doubling is common and often worthless, a strong, well-separated double die showing clear doubling on the date, lettering, and Lincoln's profile can transform the coin into a legendary rarity, especially if the doubling is bold enough to be visible to the naked eye and confirmed by experts. And now imagine that same double die penny also exhibiting a major off-center strike, where the design is dramatically shifted, leaving a large blank crescent and revealing the mechanics of the strike itself. Such a combination is already extremely rare, but the story does not end there, because strike anomalies can stack, resulting in broad strikes where the coin is struck without a retaining collar, causing it to spread wider than normal, or multiple strikes where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes rotated or misaligned, creating surreal and mesmerizing patterns that collectors dream of. And if a 1989 penny were discovered exhibiting multiple strikes combined with a double die and an off-metal composition, the numismatic community would erupt with excitement, speculation, and fierce debate over its authenticity and value, pushing its worth into unprecedented territory. Another layer of intrigue comes from mule errors, which occur when mismatched dies are paired together, such as an obverse intended for one denomination or year, combined with a reverse intended for another. And while mule errors are incredibly rare for modern pennies, their existence is not impossible, and a confirmed 1989 penny mule featuring an incorrect reverse design or a die intended for a different series would instantly become one of the most important error coins in American history, especially if it were unique or one of only a handful known. Because uniqueness is a powerful driver of value, and the fewer examples that exist, the higher collectors are willing to go to secure ownership. condition also plays a massive role in pushing values to extremes, because a coin that survives decades of circulation unscathed, retaining full original luster, sharp details, and no post-mint damage, is already remarkable, but an error coin that survives in mint state condition borders on miraculous, and when grading services certify such a coin at the highest levels, the price can escalate exponentially, especially when wealthy collectors view the coin not only as a collectible but as a historical artifact and a store of value. Another often overlooked aspect is the role of die varieties and die deterioration, because dies can crack, clash, chip, and break during production, leaving behind dramatic raised lines, missing design elements, or extra metal where it should not be. And some of the most famous error coins owe their fame to spectacular die breaks that create visually striking features, and if a 1989 penny were discovered with a massive retained cud, where a portion of the die broke but remained in place long enough to strike coins, creating a raised blob of metal that alters the design in a unique way, collectors would line up to own such a piece, and when such a cud interacts with other errors like doubling or off-center strikes, the rarity multiplies. Another possibility that fuels the legend of the $13 million 1989 penny is the idea of experimental or pattern strikes, because mints sometimes test new alloys, coatings, or designs before official release, and while most patterns are destroyed or retained by the mint, history has shown that a few occasionally escape into circulation or private hands, and a confirmed 1989 pattern scent struck in an experimental metal or with a subtle design variation would be one of the most important discoveries of the modern era, especially if documentation or metallurgical evidence supports its origin, and collectors place enormous value on pattern coins, because they represent what might have been, a glimpse into alternate paths of history, and when combined with rarity and mystery, their prices can soar into the millions. The story becomes even more compelling when we consider mint errors involving wrong planchet thickness, wrong weight, or missing layers, because copper-plated zinc scents can sometimes suffer from plating errors where the copper layer is missing, blistered, or uneven, creating striking visual effects and exposing the zinc core. And while minor plating issues are common, extreme examples are not, and a 1989 penny with a dramatic missing copper layer combined with other errors could stand out as a unique specimen, but beyond physical characteristics, provenance and story add intangible value, because a coin discovered in an unexpected place, such as an old roll untouched for decades, a mint-sealed bag, or a private estate with ties to the mint, carries a narrative that captivates collectors, and when a coin's journey can be traced and verified, confidence in its authenticity increases, encouraging higher bids. The mythos of the $13 million 1989 penny also draws power from the psychology of rarity and the dream of finding treasure in everyday life, because pennies are the most widely produced and least valued coins, making the idea that one could be worth millions both shocking and irresistible. And this contrast fuels media attention, viral stories, and intense interest, which in turn drive demand. And while not every claim of multi-million-dollar value is realized at auction, the possibility alone can push serious collectors to pay extraordinary sums to secure what they believe could be the ultimate prize, especially when competing against others with deep pockets and a desire for prestige, and prestige is a key factor, because owning a coin that is considered the pinnacle of modern-era collecting brings recognition, status, and a place in numismatic history, and some collectors are willing to pay almost any price for that honor. Another layer to consider is the role of certification and expert verification, because the market places enormous trust in respected grading services, and a 1989 penny authenticated and encapsulated with detailed attribution of its errors becomes far more desirable than an uncertified piece. And when multiple experts agree on the nature and significance of the errors, confidence grows, reducing risk for buyers and justifying higher prices, and when such a coin is presented at a major auction house with global reach, exposure increases, drawing international bidders and pushing values upward. The global aspect is important, because American coins are collected worldwide, and international collectors often view iconic American rarities as blue-chip investments, further expanding the pool of potential buyers. Next, 2019 1-cent coin. Today we are stepping into one of the most fascinating modern numismatic legends ever discussed, a story that proves that even in the age of advanced technology, strict quality control, and digital tracking, incredible minting mistakes can still happen, because today we are talking about the 2019 1-cent coin, a penny that most people have already spent without thinking, tossed into jars, or ignored on the ground, yet under extremely rare, extraordinary, and highly debated circumstances, this small copper-colored coin has been associated with a mind-blowing potential value of up to $12 million, and while that number may sound impossible for a modern penny, the world of error coins, mint anomalies, and unique production accidents tells us that impossibility is often just undiscovered reality, because value in numismatics is born from rarity, mystery, condition, and the convergence of multiple unlikely factors, and the year 2019 is especially important, because it represents a modern minting era where errors are supposed to be nearly eliminated, making any major mistake exponentially more valuable, as fewer collectors ever expect them to exist, and to truly understand how a 2019 1-cent could ever reach such a staggering valuation, we must explore every layer of possibility. From the metal composition and minting process to extreme die varieties, transitional errors, experimental planchets, catastrophic striking mistakes, and the psychology of collector demand, beginning with the composition itself, because the modern 1-cent is composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, a structure that already introduces multiple points of failure, and while most plating errors are minor and relatively common, extreme plating failures are not, and a 2019 penny exhibiting a dramatic missing copper layer, partial plating, split plating, blistered copper, or exposed zinc combined with other major errors can become a standout piece. Especially if the visual effect is dramatic and clearly the result of a mint error rather than post-mint damage, but composition anomalies do not stop at plating, because the possibility exists, however slim, that a 2019 penny could be struck on an incorrect planchet, such as a leftover foreign blank, a wrong denomination blank, or even an experimental alloy planchet used internally by the mint. And history has shown that off-metal strikes are among the most valuable errors ever discovered, because they should not exist at all, and when laboratory testing confirms a metal composition that does not match official specifications for that year, collectors immediately recognize the coin as a major mint error, and if a 2019 penny were discovered struck on a bronze planchet, a steel planchet, an aluminum planchet, or any non-standard alloy, its value would instantly leap into 6 or 7 figures. And when combined with pristine condition and additional errors, the sky becomes the limit. Another critical factor in the legend of the $12 million 2019 penny is the role of doubled dies, because while minor machine doubling is common and worthless, true doubled dies are created during the die manufacturing process and are far rarer, especially in the modern era where digital hubbing has reduced such errors dramatically, which means that any confirmed strong doubled die from 2019 would be an instant sensation, particularly if the doubling is bold, well separated, and visible on key design elements such as the date, the word Liberty, the motto, or Lincoln's profile, and if such a double die were paired with other striking anomalies, its rarity would multiply, pushing its value far beyond typical error coins. And now imagine that same double die penny also exhibiting an off-center strike, where the design is shifted significantly away from the center, leaving a large blank area and exposing the mechanics of the strike itself. Off-center strikes are always popular, but extreme off-center strikes that still show a full date and mint mark are far rarer and far more valuable, and when combined with a double die, the resulting coin would be something most collectors only dream of seeing, and this is where the story intensifies, because errors can stack, resulting in what collectors call multiple error coins, and multiple error coins are exponentially rarer than single error examples, because each additional error represents another unlikely event occurring to the same coin, and the odds of such convergence are astronomically low. Another powerful contributor to extreme value is the possibility of multiple strikes, where a coin is struck more than once, sometimes rotated, flipped, or misaligned between strikes, creating surreal overlapping images, ghostly outlines, and dramatic distortions that make the coin visually unforgettable. And if a 2019 penny were discovered with a dramatic multi-strike error combined with an off-metal planchet, or a doubled die, it would instantly become one of the most important modern error coins ever known, Another layer of rarity comes from broad strikes, which occur when a coin is struck without a retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread outward, resulting in a wider, thinner coin with distorted lettering near the edges. And while broad strikes alone are collectible, a broad strike combined with other major errors pushes the coin into a completely different category, especially if the expansion is extreme and visually striking. Mule errors represent yet another realm of near mythical possibility, because a mule occurs when mismatched dies are paired together, such as an obverse intended for one coin and a reverse intended for another. And while mule errors are extremely rare for modern 1-cent coins, they are not impossible. And a confirmed 2019 penny mule featuring an incorrect reverse design, a foreign reverse, or a mismatched denomination would be one of the most shocking discoveries in modern numismatics, and the uniqueness or near uniqueness of such a coin would drive collectors into fierce competition, potentially pushing the price into the multi-million-dollar range, especially if only one example were known to exist. Another extraordinary factor is the potential existence of pattern or experimental strikes, because mints often test new alloys, coatings, finishes, or manufacturing techniques before public release, and while these experimental coins are usually destroyed or retained internally, history has shown that a few occasionally escape, and a confirmed 2019 experimental cent struck on a test alloy or with a subtle design or surface variation would be a historic artifact, representing a path that was considered but never officially taken, and collectors place immense value on such coins because they capture a moment of decision in mint history. And when rarity, mystery, and documentation align, prices can reach unimaginable heights. Die breaks and die failures also play a major role in creating dramatic error coins, because as dies wear and crack under immense pressure, they can create raised lines, missing elements, or large blobs of metal known as cuds. And while small die cracks are common, massive retained cuds are not. And a 2019 penny featuring a huge retained cud that alters Lincoln's portrait or obscures major lettering would be instantly recognizable and highly desirable, and if such a cud occurred alongside other errors like doubling or off-center striking, the result would be a once-in-a-generation coin. Condition cannot be overlooked, because an error coin's value increases dramatically when it survives in mint state condition, free from circulation wear, corrosion, or damage. And a flawless or near-flawless 2019 error penny certified at the highest grades would be a dream acquisition for elite collectors, because it represents both rarity and preservation. Another often underestimated factor is provenance, because a coin with a documented history, such as discovery in an original mint sealed bag, a government roll, or a collection linked to a mint employee, carries added credibility and intrigue. And when provenance supports authenticity, buyers feel more confident investing large sums. The modern nature of the 2019 penny also adds to its mystique, because collectors do not expect modern coins to produce legendary errors, which makes any confirmed extreme anomaly even more shocking and desirable. And this surprise factor drives media attention, viral stories, and increased demand, which in turn fuels higher prices. The idea that a penny you could still find today might be worth millions captures the imagination like few other stories, and that imagination plays a powerful role in the market, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying the possibility of owning something extraordinary, something that defies expectations, something that places them into numismatic history. Certification and expert verification are critical in transforming possibility into value, because respected grading services provide authentication, attribution, and encapsulation, turning a mysterious object into a recognized rarity. And when multiple experts agree on the nature and significance of the errors, confidence increases, reducing risk for buyers and justifying higher bids. Global demand also matters, because American coins are collected worldwide, and elite international collectors often view iconic American error coins as trophies and long-term investments, expanding the pool of potential buyers far beyond domestic markets. Survivorship is another crucial element. Next, 2014 1-cent coin. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating modern numismatic legends that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world, the story of the 2014 1-cent coin, a penny that most people would never look at twice. Yet under extremely rare and extraordinary circumstances has been associated with a staggering potential value of $11 million, a figure that seems almost unbelievable for a modern copper-colored coin, but as we will explore together. Value in the world of coins is not determined by face value or age alone but by rarity, error, condition, mystery, and the convergence of multiple unlikely events, and the year 2014 occupies a unique place in this story because it sits firmly in the modern minting era, a time when technology, automation, and quality control were expected to eliminate major mistakes, making any significant error not just rare but shocking, and it is precisely this expectation of perfection that elevates the importance of any anomaly discovered from this year, because when something goes wrong in a system designed to prevent mistakes, the resulting artifact becomes incredibly desirable, and to understand how a 2014 1 cent could ever be linked to an $11 million valuation, we must examine every layer of possibility, from composition and planchets to die varieties, striking errors, experimental pieces, and the psychology of collectors who chase the impossible, beginning with the metal itself, because the modern 1 cent is made of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, a structure that already introduces multiple opportunities for failure, and while minor plating flaws are common and usually worth very little, extreme plating errors are not, and a 2014 penny exhibiting a dramatic missing copper layer, partial plating, split plating, bubbling, peeling, or exposed zinc in a way that is clearly the result of a minting defect rather than damage after leaving the mint can become highly collectible, especially when the visual effect is bold and unmistakable, but the story becomes far more powerful when we consider off-metal planchets, because history has shown that wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable mistakes ever made by any mint, and despite strict controls, it is possible for a penny to be struck on a blank intended for another denomination, a foreign coin, or even an experimental alloy, and if a 2014 1 cent were discovered struck on a bronze planchet left over from earlier years, or on a steel, aluminum, or otherwise non-standard metal, laboratory testing would immediately confirm its abnormal composition, and such confirmation would transform the coin into a major numismatic event, because it should not exist at all, and collectors place enormous value on things that defy official records. Another powerful driver of extreme value is the presence of double dies, because true double dies are created during the die manufacturing process and result in strong, clearly separated doubling on design elements, and while modern digital hubbing has reduced the frequency of these errors, it has not eliminated them entirely, making any confirmed 2014 double die penny an instant sensation, particularly if the doubling is visible on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait, and when such a double die is dramatic rather than subtle. Its desirability increases exponentially, especially if it is paired with other errors, which brings us to the concept of multiple error coins, a category that represents the holy grail for many collectors, because each additional error represents another unlikely event occurring to the same coin, and the odds of such convergence are astronomically low. Imagine a 2014 penny that is not only a double die but also struck off-center, where the design is significantly shifted and a large portion of the blank remains unstruck, yet the date is still visible. Such coins are already rare, but when combined with doubling, they become something truly extraordinary, and the story does not end there, because striking errors can stack further, resulting in multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes rotated or misaligned, creating overlapping images and ghostly impressions that reveal the chaos of the minting process in a way that is both beautiful and fascinating. And a multi-struck 2014 penny combined with a double die or off-metal planchet would instantly be recognized as one of the most important modern error coins ever discovered. Broad strikes add another layer of intrigue, because when a coin is struck without a retaining collar, it spreads outward, becoming wider and thinner than normal, with distorted lettering near the edges, and while broad strikes alone are collectible, an extreme broad strike combined with other errors pushes the coin into a realm where traditional pricing no longer applies. Mule errors are perhaps even more dramatic, because they occur when mismatched dies are paired together, such as an obverse intended for one coin and a reverse intended for another, and while mule errors are exceedingly rare for modern 1 cent coins, they are not impossible, and a confirmed 2014 penny mule featuring an incorrect reverse design or a die intended for another denomination would be one of the most shocking discoveries of the modern era. And the uniqueness or near uniqueness of such a piece would drive intense competition among elite collectors, potentially pushing the value into the multi-million-dollar range. Experimental and pattern strikes also play a crucial role in the legend of the $11 million 2014 penny, because mints often test new materials, coatings, finishes, or production techniques before public release, and while most experimental pieces are destroyed or retained internally, history has proven that a few occasionally escape, and a confirmed 2014 experimental scent struck on a test alloy or featuring a subtle but intentional design variation would represent a snapshot of mint history that was never meant to reach the public, making it incredibly valuable to collectors who prize rarity and historical significance. Die failures further enrich this story, because as dies wear and crack under immense pressure, they can create dramatic raised lines, missing elements, or large blobs of metal known as cuds. And while small die cracks are common and usually unremarkable, massive retained cuds that significantly alter the design are rare and visually striking, and a 2014 penny featuring such a cud, especially if it disrupts Lincoln's portrait or major lettering, would be instantly recognizable and highly sought after, and if such a die failure occurred alongside other errors like doubling or off-center striking, the result would be a once-in-a-lifetime coin. Condition plays an enormous role in pushing values to extreme levels, because an error coin that survives in mint state condition, retaining full original luster and sharp details, is far more valuable than one that has circulated, and a flawless or near-flawless 2014 error penny certified at the highest grades would be irresistible to elite collectors. Provenance also adds significant value, because a coin with a documented history of discovery, such as being found in an original mint sealed bag, a government roll, or a collection with ties to mint operations, carries additional credibility and intrigue, and when provenance supports authenticity, buyers feel more confident paying extraordinary sums. The modern nature of the 2014 penny adds another psychological dimension, because collectors do not expect modern coins to produce legendary rarities, and this element of surprise fuels media attention, viral stories, and increased demand, all of which drive prices higher. The idea that a penny you could still theoretically find today might be worth millions captures the imagination in a way few other stories can, and that imagination has real market power, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying the chance to own something extraordinary, something that defies expectations and secures a place in numismatic history. Certification and expert verification are essential in transforming possibility into recognized value, because respected grading services provide authentication and detailed attribution, turning a mysterious object into an acknowledged rarity. And when multiple experts agree on the nature and significance of the errors, confidence increases and risk decreases, justifying higher bids. Global demand also matters, because American coins are collected worldwide, and wealthy international collectors often view iconic American era coins as trophies and long-term investments, expanding the pool of potential buyers. Survivorship is another critical element, because even if a small number of extreme era coins were produced, most would have been destroyed, damaged, or lost, leaving perhaps only one known example. And when a coin is believed to be unique or nearly unique, traditional pricing models collapse and value becomes whatever someone is willing to pay, and history has shown that some collectors are willing to pay almost any price for singular pieces. The legend of the $11 million 2014 penny is fueled by all of these factors converging into one tantalizing possibility, that somewhere out there exists a coin that slipped through every safeguard, escaped detection, survived in exceptional condition, and now waits to be discovered. And while skepticism is healthy and not every claim will ultimately be realized, numismatic history is filled with stories that began as rumors. Last 1993 D1 cent. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and endlessly debated modern numismatic legends, a story that proves that even a small copper-colored coin from the early 1990s can ignite imaginations and dreams across the world. Because today our focus is on the 1993 D1 cent coin, a penny that most people have spent, ignored, or forgotten. Yet under extremely rare, extraordinary, and almost unbelievable circumstances has been associated with a potential value reaching $10 million, a figure that sounds impossible until you truly understand how the world of mint errors, transitional mistakes, die varieties, and collector psychology works, and why rarity is not simply about age but about what went wrong at exactly the wrong moment inside the mint, creating something that was never supposed to exist. The year 1993 sits in a particularly interesting place in United States mint history, because it was a time when the Lincoln cent had already transitioned to a copper-plated zinc composition, production volumes were enormous, quality control was strong but not perfect, and the Denver Mint was striking hundreds of millions of coins under intense pressure to meet demand, and it is precisely this combination of high-speed production, aging equipment, human oversight, and complex mechanical processes that creates the perfect environment for rare and dramatic mistakes that most people will never see but that a few lucky coins carry forever, transforming them from 1-cent curiosities into potential multi-million-dollar legends. To understand how a 1993 penny could ever be worth such a staggering amount, we must begin with the most powerful driver of value in modern cents, transitional and off-metal errors, because although 1993 cents were officially supposed to be made of zinc with a thin copper plating, history has proven beyond any doubt that leftover planchets, wrong metal blanks, and unintended materials can and do slip into production, and when they do, the results can be astonishing. One of the most famous examples in numismatic history is the 1943 bronze cent, a coin that should not exist yet commands enormous value, and it is this precedent that fuels intense interest in any later year where a similar mistake could have occurred. And collectors have long speculated about the possibility of a 1993 penny struck on a bronze planchet, whether from leftover stock, foreign material contamination, or experimental testing, and if such a coin were ever conclusively discovered and authenticated through metallurgical analysis, confirming a solid bronze composition rather than copper-plated zinc, it would instantly become one of the most important modern error coins ever known, because it would represent a coin that defies official mint records. And collectors place extraordinary value on things that should not exist, especially when they are tied to a familiar design like the Lincoln cent. And the Denver Mint connection adds another layer of intrigue, because Denver struck massive quantities of cents in 1993, increasing the statistical chance that something unusual could slip through unnoticed. Another powerful possibility lies in the realm of off-metal strikes that go beyond bronze, because a 1993 penny could theoretically be struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime, a foreign coin, or even an experimental alloy, and such wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and valuable mistakes known, because they often result in coins with incorrect weight, color, thickness, and sound, immediately signaling that something is wrong, and when laboratory testing confirms that the metal composition does not match any official specification for a 1993 cent, collectors know they are looking at something extraordinary, something that cannot be explained away as damage or alteration, and when such a coin is preserved in high condition, its value can escalate rapidly into the millions. Another major category that fuels the $10 million legend is the world of double dies, because true double dies are created during the die manufacturing process and result in genuine duplication of design elements, not just mechanical vibration, and while double dies were more common in earlier decades, they did not disappear entirely by 1993, and a strong, well-defined double die obverse or reverse from the Denver Mint would instantly attract massive attention, especially if the doubling is visible on key areas like the date, the word Liberty, the motto, or Lincoln's profile, and if the doubling is bold enough to be seen without magnification. Collectors know they are dealing with a major variety rather than a minor curiosity, and now imagine that such a double die also appears on a coin with another major error, because this is where value truly explodes, as multiple errors on a single coin are exponentially rarer than single error examples. Another striking possibility involves off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet is not properly seated during the strike, resulting in a design that is shifted away from the center, leaving a blank crescent and revealing the raw mechanics of the minting process. And while minor off-center strikes are relatively common, extreme off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark are far rarer and far more valuable. And if a 1993 penny were discovered with a Dramatic off-center strike combined with a double die or off-metal composition, the resulting coin would be something most collectors would consider a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Multiple strikes add yet another layer of fascination, because when a coin is struck more than once, sometimes rotated or misaligned between strikes, the overlapping images create surreal patterns that tell a story of chaos and mechanical failure inside the mint, and a multi-struck 1993 D penny, especially one with rotation or flip between strikes, would already be highly desirable, but when combined with other errors, it would move into legendary territory. Broad strikes further expand the list of possibilities, because when a coin is struck without a retaining collar, it spreads outward, becoming wider and thinner than normal, with distorted lettering and a strange, stretched appearance. And while broad strikes alone are collectible, an extreme broad strike paired with another major error dramatically increases rarity and value. Mule errors represent one of the most shocking and rare possibilities of all, because they occur when mismatched dies are paired together, such as an obverse intended for one coin and a reverse intended for another. And while mule errors are exceptionally rare for modern cents, they are not impossible. And a confirmed 1993 D penny mule featuring an incorrect reverse design or a die intended for another denomination would instantly become one of the most important modern mint errors ever discovered, because such a coin would challenge everything collectors assume about mint operations and quality control, and the uniqueness or near uniqueness of such a piece would drive intense competition among elite collectors, pushing the value far beyond traditional limits. Die breaks and die failures also play a significant role in creating dramatic and valuable errors, because as dies wear, crack, and break under enormous pressure, they can leave raised lines, missing elements, or large blobs of metal known as cuds on the coins they strike. And while small die cracks are common and usually not valuable, massive retained cuds that significantly alter the design are rare and visually striking. And a 1993 D penny with a large retained cut obscuring part of Lincoln's portrait or major lettering would be instantly recognizable and highly sought after, especially if it appears alongside other errors like doubling or off-center striking. Plating errors are another important aspect of modern cent collecting, because copper-plated zinc cents can suffer from missing plating, split plating, blistering, peeling, or uneven coverage. And while many plating issues are minor and common, extreme examples that dramatically alter the coin's appearance are not. And a 1993 D penny with a dramatic plating failure combined with other errors could stand out as a unique specimen. But physical characteristics alone do not create multi-million-dollar value. Condition plays a massive role, because an error coin that survives in mint state condition, with full original luster, sharp details, and no circulation wear, is exponentially more valuable than one that has been damaged or worn. And a flawless or near flawless 1993 D error penny certified at a high grade would be irresistible to serious collectors. Provenance adds another powerful dimension, because a coin with a documented history of discovery, such as being found in an original mint sealed bag, a government roll, or a collection linked to mint operations, carries added credibility and intrigue. And when provenance supports authenticity, buyers feel more confident investing extraordinary sums. The psychology of collecting cannot be ignored in this story, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying rarity, prestige, and the chance to own something that others cannot. And owning a coin considered the pinnacle of modern cent errors brings recognition and status within the numismatic community, and some collectors are willing to pay almost any price for that honor. Global demand further amplifies value, because American coins are collected worldwide, and wealthy international collectors often view iconic American rarities as long-term investments and cultural artifacts.